Divine, welcome. I've been wanting to do this for such a long time, and this is the perfect time to get into it. And the reason being is because we're going right into the new moon. And going into the new moon that is happening tonight, it allows you to set your intent. But you need to know what you're setting your intent on. And if you can understand where your imbalance is, then you can intentionally balance it out. There are so many ways to intentionally balance it out. And I discovered that many people on their journey do a lot of different things because there's a lot of things you can get into on the soul journey, okay? But they do a lot of different things, but is it what you need to do? Is it what's working for you? Will it take you to the heights that you need to go to on your ascension journey? It's important to know that. Otherwise, why are you doing it? All right, let's get into it. Divine feminine and divine masculine. Understanding and how to balance. It's important to look right here where you can actually see these are the natural masculine and feminine traits. You have that masculine, which is that logic, that adventurous, that rational, that strength, that reason, that action, that firm, that survival, that loyal. Heck yeah. Then you have that feminine, which is that intuition, that nurturing, that healing, that gentle, that expressive, that wise, that patient, that emotional, that flexible. Now, see, these are your basic feminine and masculine traits, which is so interesting because the divine feminine and divine masculine highlight something so beautiful we have here on the earth, that it's energy. It's all energy. Right now in my practice, I have the representation of all of the married couple sets. I have the husband and wife. I have the man and man. And I have the woman and woman. I have all three of those as far as married couples who come before me for couples counseling. And I get the question of, well, how can you, what do you mean? I do it according to the energies. I don't care what bodysuits comes in front of me. I look at one thing. Where's the imbalance of the masculine and the feminine energy? It can show up in any bodysuit. You hear me? And and as soon as you can identify who is that dominant masculine and who is that dominant feminine, and then you can identify the imbalance of the masculine and the imbalance of the feminine, then you can support in aligning the energies in the two people, and then it comes together in the physical like they desire it to. There's a science to this. This isn't just something that you're doing. This is something that is effective. It's really the game changer on relationships. It's important to list these basic traits because another one of the big questions that we have is, well, why is it so many divine feminines? Why is it so many of those dominant feminines who are out here who are so visible? Why is it saying that they are first and that they lead? And why do some of the religious stories highlight the feminine as being that first initiator of this or that? If the masculine is supposed to be that action one, why is it that the feminine comes into that place? If the divine masculine is that action and that logic one? Well, it's important to understand. This is soul. This is spirit. This is what you can't see. You have to intuit. And if you intuit, then that means that is a feminine trait, which means that the feminine is dominantly, naturally. That's why I put the feminine and the masculine natural traits before we even put the divine twist on it. But the natural trait is that that feminine holds that intuition, which aligns to the soul, the spirit, which aligns to the spiritual journey. So it's natural for the feminine to be aligned with that which is soul and spirit. They have that intuitive nature, that healing nature. That's the nature of the feminine energy, which makes it automatic alignment on the spiritual journey. It's not because one is chosen over the other. It's the makeup. It's literally science to this stuff. It's the makeup of the feminine that aligns the feminine automatically to those things of the spirit world, which means it's easier for them to get it and understand it immediately first. That's just it. It's the way they're made. So when we go into it a little bit more, now you'll understand why there's such a difficulty that comes about when you try to merge these energies together. Well, one of the biggest things is the wounded feminine. See, the wounded feminine does not act in the same way that what we would call to be the divine feminine. So even though the feminine has those natural traits, the wounded feminine develops something a little bit different. The wounded feminine can show up very insecure, like that victim, that compulsive, that overly emotional, that codependent, that manipulative, that needy, that inauthentic. All of you know that feminine. And that feminine has come across your mirror a couple of times too. Let's be real, okay? But what we have discovered is that that wounded feminine, like the last videos that you saw, it's all about uprooting those experiences that had happened within that feminine's life to send them in that placement, which is unnatural. It's unnatural to have that codependency. And many are you discovering that there's a relief to being detached because it's healthy and it's normal and it's actually the way you live. It's not something you're doing temporarily. It is the way to live. So, that wounded feminine experienced so many things, within those younger periods of life, even going on to mid to adult, that caused a lot of woundedness that had the feminine acting outside of feminine character. That's not how feminine acts. Feminine is not this insecure victim, this compulsive, overly emotional, codependent, manipulative, needy, inauthentic person. Let's put a fake on that twist. That's not it. And many of you recognize that when you start to identify, a lot of people name it kind of like the dark feminine or the karmic feminine or things of those sort to kind of identify more so somebody that stays in this space, that Jezebel feminine. We can kind of add that jealousy with it as well. And now let's go on to it, and we see the wounded masculine. The wounded masculine is that irrational competitive. Like, what? Withdrawals, controlling, unstable, avoids, aggressive, abusive, illogical. It's like that's not a natural, these aren't natural traits of the masculine. This is that wounded masculine, meaning something went down. Something went down. And like I mentioned in the wounded feminine slide right before, when these things go down, you have to uproot it, or you have to know where it came from. Or it just comes up throughout your life and shows up in your relationships. And these aren't natural ways to move. In fact, not only are they not natural ways to move, they make it difficult to have the relationships and the things that you desire to have here in this life. So this is why it's so important. You'll also see introduction to pain transmutation down below here, because those are the very things that are interfering. Well, I actually shared things that I had to clear out throughout my childhood experience to make sure I cleared that wounding so I can be the divine feminine I am today. It's important. It's not external, it's internal. So let's talk about what makes the divine masculine and the divine feminine, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. How do these supercharged, superhuman, divine beings come about? Well, they discover something. The divine feminine and the divine masculine discover that they can tap into their masculine energy and they can tap into their feminine energy no matter what bodysuit or what the world has put on them as an assignment, saying you're this, but you can't be that. But they've discovered they can tap into their divine masculine energy when it's needed and their divine feminine energy when it's needed. And it creates the divine feminine and divine masculine. What I have discovered in working, and I actually worked with someone this weekend, and this was exactly what came up, is that a lot of the collective are titled divine feminines, but they are living in a lot of masculine energy. And they live in that masculine energy and they go, whoa, I want my masculine to be more masculine. And I go, well, you're kind of in that space. This is science. So you have all those energetic particles out there of the masculine. So your match would be a little bit more feminine, or they fit into what we consider the wounded area, which they just don't have a lot of it going on there. And that's really what's happened a lot in the collective. So if you discover in looking through this that, hey, I got a lot of masculine energy there, got a lot of feminine energy there, this is why my person is not, and this is why my person is not. You can balance it out. You've discovered the ability to balance it out. See, all these intents that are set and all these things that are done out here in the spiritual collective, do things with intent. If you recognize that you need to balance out your feminine energy and bring in more of that in your life, then everything you're reading, everything you're listening to, everything you're everything you're touching. Why? Because these are our portals. These are our portals. So what you're taking in needs to be at that feminine nature. If you want to balance out that masculine side of you and have more feminine energy in your masculine side. So you won't appear in that wounded masculine energy, which in turn is a mirror to your twin. When you balance out your masculine energy, you balance out your twin's masculine energy. How do you do that? Make sure you're in your feminine energy. See, the person I had, they were more in the action mode. It was like, well, I'm doing this and I'm taking care of that. My person has this going on, so they need me for this. They need me for that. I'm like, yeah. And that's okay, as long as you are aware that you are the divine masculine dominant in this relationship, not divine feminine dominant. So you're asking for something in which the science does not match up to give you. There are universal laws to this thing. This is set. This isn't shoulda, coulda, woulda. This is a real life science. So it's okay, but it's knowing you're in that position, and you're in that position because that is the way it's lining up. And many of the divine feminines had to learn at younger years of age. See, I had to balance out my masculine energy. The reason I had to balance out my masculine energy because I had to do a lot for myself many times in life. And then there were different types of positions I took on and different educational paths that, according to the world, they weren't necessarily where you would go in the quote feminine, but we know that's just the physical world concept of it. So then once I recognized, which my masculine, having a dominance in masculine energy at the time worked for me. It worked for me in my survival. It worked for me in making things happen for myself. It even works in this. See, I come up here and I speak from my channeling of my intuitive nature, which is my divine feminine. But the process of getting on here, getting things, making it, it's very masculine. But I have the ability to balance, which is what makes me divine, which is what puts me in that position of when two come together in agreement, then there is nothing that they cannot receive and have. You remember that? It's one of those scriptures, right? Divine feminine and divine masculine energy coming together in one is the powerhouse. You saw the natural feminine traits. You saw the natural masculine traits. Like I told the person before, it's not about getting your masculine to be this way. I need you to be more feminine. I need you to be in the receptive mode. Like, what? Yeah. That's how you do this. That's how you mirror this. That's how you balance this thing out. You get balanced. So this is a perfect time to see where you fit on it. And if you're doing some meditations, you're doing some reading, you need to be reading according to what fits for you. What do you need right now? Because in order to put these elements together outside in the physical, you got to know what you have going on in internal. And that is about self-mastery. And you want to get to the position where you're able to dial up your masculine, dial up your feminine, do whatever you need to, just like putting on the right clothes for the right day. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. That is what makes you divine. That is what allows you to have everything. That's what we talk about. When we say that kit and caboodle, when those cards come out and they say, whoop, there's the rainbow, there's the 4 of Wands, this is it. This is all the pentacles, this is the family, this is it. The reason why the divine feminine and divine masculine have everything, because they've learned that they can tap into both energies. The only reason why we're here is to balance them. That's it. And a lot of times, many have learned to tap into those energies through trauma and hardships throughout life. And then the experience of being with each other. I want to read to you from my book, Generation Holds to Go, Judi Walk. The reason why I want to read to you from my book is that there's a passage in here that is perfect to where we are. You can actually get this on Amazon. I made it available on Amazon since coming on YouTube. So you can get it down below in the description. But one of the passages to increase that reflectivity, which is one of the things of the divine feminine traits, is to be reflective, to be that healing center, that reflective center. So when everything's come to the divine feminine nature, you're supposed to easily be able to transmute it. Such a natural function of a divine. But it goes right in and it says, you see the goal. The goal is what it has always been. I think this is chapter 16. That's my feeling. The goal is what it has always been, the balance of feminine and masculine energy. It is the perfect combination for what is needed to live this life in real connectivity and oneness. It is becoming one. It is not a preference of one over the other. And let's be clear, I'm not speaking of gender preference or sexuality. I'm talking about the thing you notice that makes you group and classify gender and sexuality. It is the masculine and feminine energy that is derived. The constant focus to put it in one is where we have it wrong. You see, masculine and feminine are to become one, meaning that life of blessing excels with the effective presence of both within. People are baffled at the basis of the beginning. Yes, you are a woman, and yes, you are a man. But can you grow into the inclusive balance as yin and yang? Can you balance your energies to have the life that you desire and dream of? Because it takes the balance of both. That's what this is all about. And as you see, the divine feminine excels in that creative nature because she takes a little bit of her masculine, she pumps that into her divine feminine, so she's creative. She's also magnetic. That chasing thing, that's not a divine feminine trait. Divine feminine is magnetic. That open, that receptive, that compassionate, that empathic, strong boundaries, grounded. Strong boundaries because the divine feminine knows their worth. They know what it is that they do. They are mindful of their energy source. They're mindful of their being. Trusting, supportive. They're trusting in their self and the universal system of things because they have intuitive knowing. Supportive by nature. Divine masculine, deeply present. Yes, that's a divine masculine trait. Disciplined. Protective, responsible, boundaries, integrity, focused, confident, honest, accountable, supportive. Yeah. See, whenever people start mixing that divine feminine and divine masculine energy together, which is basically the basic masculine and the basic feminine energies, divine masculine and divine feminine are kind of like this hybrid that they say, oh, well, we got to mix it together and get something. Oh, shoot. We got a woman on the rise. Oh, shoot. We got a man on the rise. Because they've put together their energies and they become the divine, which is the makeup of both. It's everything that's on earth. We only have those two energies. You are the divine when you combine them both, because the divine of all things is the combination of both. So when you balance them both within yourself, it puts you in those supernatural, superhuman states, which allows you a love of the highest frequency here on earth. It allows you to do things that exceed the average experience that you've seen here on earth. And it also aligns you the alignment with all that is for that intuitive knowing. It is the power position and power play. This is all we're doing here. We're just balancing out the energies that you've learned how to tap into. Whether you had some disassociation, some trauma, some bad stuff, some abandonment, whatever you had to do to all of a sudden become more masculine or become more feminine in your life, you know. We have a lot of divine masculines had issues with that mothering relationship. We have a lot of divine feminines who had issues with that fathering relationship. All of those were necessary. They were absolutely necessary. And the reason they were necessary is because they allowed you to start tapping into your own. It was like, well, I'll tap into my own masculine energy then. I'll tap into my own feminine energy then. And then you learned that you could. And you were supposed to learn that you could. And now you get to learn how to balance them. And then align with someone with the same balancing that you have. But you have to have self-mastery in order to get to that point. And this leads to the chapter called Marriage in my book. And it goes like this. Can you, man, take the masculine energy you were born with and gather the adequate amount of feminine energy necessary to be balanced? That's just a general question. It could be anybody's suit or a woman that starts off. Can you, woman, obtain the necessary masculine energy to be balanced? There we go. I am confused with the obsession of choice when both are required for elevation. They're both required for elevation. This is what makes you divine feminine, divine masculine. This is why you have to balance the energies, because you're going to live a life that the average do not live. It's a supercharged life with both of your energies in balance, steering you ahead, which is the makeup of the entire divine being you. Strength and softness, night and day, go hand in hand. There is not one without the other. The balance allows the ability to access both energies when necessary in life's journey. One is more suitable for taking charge of your career and another for resting into an enchanted sexual pleasure. It is important to show up with the right energy. You dress for the occasion, but are you internally suited? It is the balance of energies that you seek. Sit with yourself. Know where your energy aligns. Sometimes it's necessary to be either or. But understand who you are aligning to and what is necessary for the energy there. Can that work for you? Can it be something balanced according to where you fit? It's important in self-mastery to know how you are showing up within. There is science to this. Get out your Google, get out your research, do what you need to do to recognize what is that feminine energy, what is that masculine energy. Know that if you have access to both and where you're accessing both, see if it's in balance. Because in your career, if you have too much masculine or too much feminine, you might not be making it happen. In your relationship, if you are showing up a little bit too much masculine or too much feminine, you might not be making it happen. And it could be that your energy is out of balance because of a wounding from past childhood or anything that has you in that codependency state within your life, that neediness, that controlling, that aggressive, that has nothing to do with your ability to have everything you desire. It's just some of that past stuff that you get to transmute out, because as a divine being, you have the power to transform, transmute, be intuitive. Those are part of superpowers, you know. Yeah, you get your gifts for your everyday life to live a life like none other. We don't get our gifts to, sometimes I like to call it, kind of be like sideshow in a way. I started a lot of that when I first came on. I would do a lot of random open predictions, and most of them hit, of course, because that's not difficult to do. It's immediately drop out of my thought process, my life, my experience, and just tune in to what's out there. Then say it without a doubt at all in myself. Just let it flow through my vessel. But it's the game changer when you start having the clarity that you need to see into the people and the situations within your life to create the life that you have always dreamed and desired. That is the gifting that you want. The golden mission. The golden mission is union. Union within self, then union with others. See you soon.